Now, guys, I'll be the first to admit that I am not a fan of Boxing News 24 at all. Like, I do not recommend him. I don't. He's like a big Terrence Bud Crawford hater. Like, guys like Fanon refers Boxing News 24 because in the past, Boxing News 24 has been very biased when it came to Terrence Bud Crawford. He has not given Terrence Bud Crawford his credit at all. But this article was a little bit different. This article, he was being informative. He was informing the public that he spoke to Terrence Bud Crawford's strength and conditioning coach. And he asked Terrence Bud Crawford's strength and conditioning coach about the outcome with the Errol Spence Jr. fight. Was he surprised? And he stated he wasn't surprised, right? He knew that Terrence Bud Crawford was on a different level. And then he was asked about a potential fight with Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Bud Crawford. And he stated that a lot of people don't know that Terrence Bud Crawford walks around at a 180 pounds, comfortable, and he's very healthy at that weight. And he said that Terrence Crawford and the Canelo Alvarez fight would be similar to the Errol Spence Jr. and the Terrence Bud Crawford fight. Terrence Bud Crawford probably won't walk through Canelo Alvarez like what he did with Errol Spence Jr., but it will be a similar fight. And for the last few weeks, I've been so obsessed with that fight, right? I've been watching highlights. I've been watching a whole lot of Canelo Alvarez fight. I've been watching a whole lot of Terrence Bud Crawford fight. And I agree with what Terrence Bud Crawford strength and conditioning coach stated. For the simple fact, Canelo Alvarez is not really one of those fighters that is very unpredictable. Now, we don't know when Canelo Alvarez is going to load up on at least 4 or 5 shots in the rounds, but we know that that's his objective. His objective is to load up on 4 or 5 vicious shots each round, right? So he can slow you down, and later on in the rounds, he enhance the pressure. That's Canelo Alvarez's game plan, similar to an Errol Spence Jr. Now, Terrence Bud Crawford has proven time after time that he's able to neutralize his opponents by taking away their best attributes. He's done it time after time after time after time again. Now, leading up to the Errol Spence Jr. fight, a lot of people were saying that Terrence Crawford might not be able to handle Errol Spence Jr.'s power and Errol Spence Jr.'s jab. Now, Terrence Bud Crawford went in there and proved otherwise. Terrence Crawford was obviously the stronger man, and his jab was a problem for Errol Spence Jr. Now, if we watch Canelo Alvarez fights, we see that Canelo Alvarez does not utilize the jab at all. If you look at any of Canelo Alvarez fights, you see that his opponents throw more jabs than him and land more jabs than him. He doesn't really utilize the jab that often. Now, a fighter like Terrence Bud Crawford, he knows that Canelo Alvarez has problem with guys that uses the jab. That is one way Terrence Bud Crawford can minimize the amount of punches that Canelo Alvarez throws and lands, right? Canelo Alvarez doesn't throw that much punches at all. I'm telling you guys, go watch Canelo Alvarez fights. He doesn't throw a lot of punches. He just throws very calculated, vicious punches. And like I stated, if Terrence Crawford sticks out that jab and consistently moves and give Canelo Alvarez different looks, that's going to be problematic for Canelo Alvarez. Because a lot of fighters that fight Canelo Alvarez, what they do is they don't mix it up with Canelo Alvarez. They try to stay on the outside. Terrence Crawford has the ability to fight on the inside. Now, I know a lot of people, the reason why they're skeptical about this fight because they're worrying about Canelo Alvarez's power. We've seen this movie before. There's no way on this level, right, you guys think that Canelo Alvarez's power is going to be the deciding factor and not skills and IQ. If a fighter like Terrence Bud Crawford knows what Canelo Alvarez is going to do, it's going to be easier for him to neutralize Canelo Alvarez. If you look at the fight between John Ryder and Bivol and Jamel Charlo, It's the same Canelo Alvarez. He does the same thing. That's why Bivol was able to tell the whole world that Canelo Alvarez, all he does is load up, and later on in the round, he fades. And that's exactly what happened in the Bivol fight. With the Jamel Charlo fight, Jamel Charlo showed no type of resistance. He made Canelo Alvarez had his way. Canelo Alvarez didn't have to work fighting a Jamel Charlo, right? Because Jamel Charlo was not throwing any punches to keep Canelo Alvarez honest. Now, we know Jamel Charlo and Terence Crawford is not on the same level. Fighting a guy like Terence Crawford, he's finding ways how to stop your best attributes by doing what he does best, right? He might stick out the jab. He throws punches at a different pace. He doesn't throw his punches at the same pace. He might tap you up, and hit you with a hard shot. He hits you with unpredictable, awkward shots. His jabs are like straight right, straight lefts, right? Terence Crawford is a problem for Canelo Alvarez, and I think the whole world know that. And now the whole world is starting to realize that's why Canelo Alvarez has been dismissive of Terence Crawford recently. Now, I remember Canelo Alvarez saying this: nobody beats Terence Crawford from 147 to 154. But Canelo Alvarez faced off against Jamel Charlo that campaigned at 154, right? So that means Canelo Alvarez is admitting that Terence Crawford is a better opponent than Jamel Charlo. So how can Canelo Alvarez say that he won't get no credit for beating Terence Crawford when he believes that Terence Crawford is a better opponent than Jamel Charlo? Now, I understand if Terence Crawford was unproven, right? And he just conquered the 147-pound division. No, this is a man that's undisputed in 2 different weight classes, right? Terence Crawford is undisputed in 2 different weight classes. Terence Crawford is the face of boxing. Whether people want to argue, y'all want to dispute it, Terence Crawford is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in boxing right now. So the fact that Canelo Alvarez feels that he will get credit for fighting Jamel Charlo, that he believes is inferior to a Terence Crawford, why won't he fight a Terence Crawford that he only gains a lot more by defeating the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, right? The guy that just did 6,000 plus pay-per-views, right? Versus Errol Spence Jr. 600,000 plus pay-per-views versus Errol Spence Jr., right? Why won't he fight that guy, right? That's going to give him upwards of 70 million. Not only that you're going to earn a massive payday, you're going to defeat the #1 fighter in boxing. You said you believe you're the #1 fighter in boxing. The world believed that Terence Crawford is the #1 fighter in boxing. You could defeat Terence Crawford and prove the world wrong and become the #1 fighter in boxing. Hands down. You defeated the best guy at 154. And you defeated the best guy at 147. There's no way Canelo Alvarez wouldn't jump to this opportunity unless it's risky. Unless it's risky. We know he fought Jamel Charlo, and he said that Terence Crawford is better than Jamel Charlo. So why won't he not fight Terence Crawford? Because Terence Crawford is better than Jamel Charlo. That's the reason why. The fight that you guys envision, the haters envision, and the doubters envision is not the fight that's going to happen. Terence Crawford has 2 hands. He has a brain, which I feel like that's what y'all got to deal with. Y'all got to deal with his IQ and his ability to think and make adjustment in the ring. He's not looking to sit here and survive against Canelo Alvarez. He's looking to find ways to defeat Canelo Alvarez. That's the difference, bro. And he has not failed. If you look at Canelo Alvarez on the highest stage and the biggest stage, he failed. The reason why I say he failed, he has not separated himself from his opponent on the biggest stage. Mayweather was his biggest competition. He lost. He arguably lost to Triple G in the first fight and the second fight. He lost to Laura. He lost to Bivol. On the biggest stage, he does not capitalize. And that's a fact. And if you look at Terrence Crawford, it's a difference. And Terrence Crawford is not going to be fighting at 147 pounds. He's going to gain muscle, right? His strength is going to enhance, right? He's going to be a different fighter as well. Y'all look at the first fight with Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford and look at how Terrence Crawford dominated Errol Spence Jr. And y'all said, well, the fight is not going to be different at 154 because Terrence Crawford, he's gaining muscle also. He's gaining more power also by moving up. So what y'all think is going to be different? Terrence Crawford is going to gain muscle. He's going to gain power too. And now Canelo Alvarez is going to have to deal with that. Does Canelo Alvarez have the IQ to deal with that? I don't think so. He has not proven that he's able to have a plan B in a fight. If his plan A don't work, that's it. It's over. Similar to Errol Spence Jr. If they plan A don't work, they don't have a plan B because they're not very skilled boxers. They're like a machine. They're an engine. They come forward and they break you down and they get you up out of there. But once you do stuff to put a glitch in that machine and have that machine malfunction, then you have that opportunity to sit here and shut down that machine. And Terrence Crawford did it to Errol Spence Jr. And it's the same thing is going to happen with Canelo Alvarez if that fight gets made. And Canelo Alvarez, he's been dismissive and he's contradicting himself a lot. And he's looking like the rest of the PBC fighters when they're asked about Terrence Bull Crawford. And that's just how I look at it right now. That's what Canelo Alvarez is showing. Now, a lot of people don't want to believe it, but the proof is in the pudding. They pulled up an interview with Canelo Alvarez saying, yo, he would never fight Terrence Bull Crawford, right? He would never move down to 160 when it came to Terrence Bull Crawford. But then they got a next interview with Canelo Alvarez saying in the past, right? I think it was like probably 3 or 4 years ago. But still, he still fought at 168. And he was still acclimated at 168. He had like 5 or 6 fights at 168, right? And he was asked, would he be willing to fight Errol Spence Jr.? And he said, yeah, that would be a big fight if Errol Spence Jr. can move up. And then they asked him, would he move down to 160? And Canelo Alvarez said, yes, he would move down to 160 to fight Errol Spence Jr. But when he was asked about Terrence Bull Crawford, he said no, he's not willing to do that. And it just to show you that Canelo Alvarez, he's not willing to fight Terrence Bull Crawford because he feels that Terrence Bull Crawford is not a threat and he's not going to get credit. He's not willing to fight him because he knows how good Terrence Crawford is. Example A, what I just stated. He said he's willing to move down to 160 to fight Errol Spence Jr., but not Terrence Bull Crawford. Example B, he said that from 147 to 154, nobody beats Terrence Bull Crawford. The opponent that he just faced off against, Jermell Charlo, fought at 154, right? But he said that he won't get no credit for beating Terrence Bull Crawford because Terrence Crawford is too small. But he stated that Terrence Crawford would beat the guy that he just faced. So you will get credit for fighting the guy that you believe that will beat Jermell Charlo and the guy that's the #1 fighter in the world, right? The guy that's the #1 fighter in the world, the guy that just did something that no other male boxer have ever done in the sport by becoming undisputed in the 2 different weight divisions. You won't get credit for beating him, but you will get credit for beating Jermell Charlo. It doesn't make any sense. So Canelo Alvarez is showing fair when asked about Terrence Bull Crawford. He's sounding like the rest of the PBC guys. And if y'all don't see it, then y'all just don't want to see it, but it's right there to be seen, right? Terrence Crawford possesses a style and a mentality that nobody wants to willingly wants to get in the ring with. It could be Canelo, Charlo, it don't matter. They don't want to get in the ring with him, bro. But y'all see what I got for y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all share this video if y'all enjoyed this content. Make sure y'all hit that subscription button, and I'm out.